Hi everyone, my name is Cretney Petersen and I'm going to be your instructor for this course. So I just wanted to record a quick welcome video to kind of get you up to speed, talk about the basics and then go over the syllabus really briefly. So let's start at our course page. Not published yet, but it will be soon. Cut me a little slack. Okay, so you're going to see the orientation module first on the home page. That's where you're going to start. Right? So we're going to go ahead and click on this one first. And this is going to have all the basic info you need right away, right? So first things first, the course is online asynchronous. So that means we're not going to have any in-person meetings of any kind or Zoom meetings. It's not a, synchronous online class where we would have like weekly Zoom meetings. I will hold a couple optional drop-in sessions though, and that will be put as an additional page in the orientation module, just to kind of, later on, to give you an opportunity if you want to ask some questions. Obviously there's office hours and stuff like that too, but this will just be, kind of to go over, and just kind of like check where everyone's at with stuff. Okay, so those of course are optional and I'll record them and put them on Canvas as well. Okay, so required textbooks. I would never expect you to buy something you're not going to use. You will use both of these books. So there are newer editions, older editions. That's fine. Whichever edition basically you get, I'm happy with, because for the exams, I'm going to use basically the wording as close to as possible for the concept definitions that are coming from your textbook. So you're going to want to get those textbooks, right? Here I have all the info for that. And then this one is a graphic novel memoir. And we're going to have a kind of book club kind of approach to reading this one. You're going to read it in small chunks. And then there's going to be kind of like reflection posts and stuff that we're going to do based on that. All right. Let's see. Importance of the reading schedule. A lot of what you're expected to do is read. So I'm going to expect you to do that. And we can go through where that is on the syllabus. Types of course activities and assignments. So you're going to have weekly discussions. Pretty easy peasy. We're going to have 2 reaction papers, which we'll go through what that means later. And what I call a perform your gender paper, which again, before you have any of those assignments, there will be detailed assignment sheets. I'll record a little daily, the whole thing. So no worries on that. Okay, so here there's a little bit more info on the discussions. They kind of vary. So the first week it's introduction post. Then you have discussion question ones, which, there'll be an explanation of what that is in a minute. And then the last kind are reflection ones where you just basically reflect to the prompts. Easy peasy. Okay, let's see. So you can see that there's not discussion activities for weeks where there's an exam or week 15, so that you can just focus on that stuff and not have to worry about the discussions. The papers you're going to have to write, 2 are reaction papers where basically we're going to watch a film and you're going to react, right? But there's a kind of a structure to how this works. We can go through that in a second on the syllabus. So it's pretty easy peasy. And if you've had me before, which a few of you I saw on the roster are repeat offenders, you know how to do that. It's pretty straightforward. And then the perform your gender paper is going to be a little bit more complicated. It's really more about reflecting on your gender identity, how you came to form this, and, if you choose to do so, perform some sort of transgressive activity that kind of tests the boundaries of people's expectations of your gender performance. And then you kind of connect what you experienced in the paper or through that experiment to some of the class concepts and theories and stuff that we're talking about. Okay, exams, there will be 3 of them. Each of them will have 40 multiple choice true-false questions and 4 short answer essays that I tell you what they are ahead of time, so that you can prepare effectively, right? There will be a detailed study guide for every exam that's literally like chapter this, chapter that tells you exactly which things you have to cover for that, so that you can kind of save your time in studying and just refine it to what you need. All right, so here's some kind of other basics to know. like how to access stuff, how to contact me. Preferred method of communication is Canvas inbox. I just see it quicker and I'll respond quicker. Office hours Tuesday, Thursday, College Park, 927. If you're on campus and you want to come visit me, great, right? If you're not and you just want to like send me a message during Canvas inbox to get like a direct response, that's a good time during that window. Or if you want to meet on Zoom, just let me know and I can send you a link during that time period. Okay, let's see, blah, 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 blah. Deadlines. Everything's due Sunday before 11:59 p.m., with the exception of finals week, because I don't have the authority to extend something past Sunday. To Sunday. I think it's Thursday of that week is when the final exam will be due. Okay, so this is the next page in the orientation module, course syllabus. It's got my passive-aggressive cartoon here, some basic stuff that's all here on the PDF. This is where the bad boy lives. All of the information that you need is here, and then if anything changes or gets updated, I will update the version that we have on here as well to be the most current version. Okay, so first off, yep, that's me. Office hours, blah, blah, blah. Again, course is asynchronous. We will have optional meetups, and I'll put those dates and info in the orientation module on Canvas. So, and the Zoom links, so you'll have that information. And whatever we cover, I'll record it, pop it up there. Just hopefully it'll be a good resource for students. Let's see. Course info, blah, blah, blah. There's the book info again. Let's see, technical issues. If you have any problems, accessing either Canvas or anything that's kind of above my pay grade, IT is the place to go to this. So I have all the contact info there for them and their hours of operation. If you're taking this for a GE requirement, the GEs just changed, of course, because why wouldn't they? So this is the most updated GE. If you started before this calendar year, then I think the previous one was D3, was whatever. Anyway, click on the link there. You'll see what I mean. It'll take you to which GE requirement you have to fulfill. All right. Canvas access, obviously you're going to want that. So if you have any issues, again, the IT help desk is going to be the way to go because I have no control over that. Some helpful resources for students. You have the University Learning Center. They're going to have opportunities for, tutoring, things like that. This can be really helpful when you're writing your papers. And same thing with the Writing Center, which offers 30-minute one-on-one peer tutoring sessions and workshops. So even if you're never going on campus, there are online ways to access this stuff too. So do it, right? Very helpful stuff. Okay, course policies. So obviously, and the time period we're in, people are, how do I say this right? You want to have a space in even a virtual classroom for real discussion about real topics, and something like gender is very interesting and important, and is something that's really facing like a pretty strong backlash in the culture right now. So there might be some differences of opinion where students are coming from, bringing in their own perspectives to this class. So obviously, if you want to disagree, critique, that's fine, but you have to do so in a respectful way. And especially, I'm not going to accept any sort of, misogynistic or transphobic or ableist or any of these kind of things. So obviously, there are university guidelines for behavior, and I'm just going to hold you to that. So don't be a jerk, basically. Okay, makeup or late assignments? No. Sorry, that's my favorite part. So a little bit about me. I'm an adjunct professor, so that means I teach at Cal State Fullerton, and I also have a couple other schools I teach at. And I also work at a public library for some reason. And for some other reason, I'm in graduate school again. I don't know. It's a whole thing, to get my master's in library and information science. So I can actually be like a real librarian. Yay me. So anyway, as a result, I'm very busy, right? I'm full-time work, full-time school. So trying to find other times to kind of gently fold in late assignments is very difficult for me. Again, I'm a reasonable human person. If you let me know ahead of time, or if there's something like going on in your life, or, stuff goes down sometimes, let me know and I can try and work with you. But if you just kind of ghost out for weeks, realize you didn't turn something in, or if you're one of those people that maybe you had a very lenient experience in the past and you had these professors that let you turn everything in the last week, that's not going to work in this class. So just keep up with the schedule. You won't have a problem. I promise. None of this stuff is crazy heavy lifting. So anyway, I just want you to know ahead of time what the expectations are. I don't accept assignments via email or in hard copy. They should be submitted via Canvas on time to get credit. Right. The reason there is, again, it's connected to the grade book. There's no opportunity for me to mess anything up. But again, sometimes Canvas goes sideways. I'm not going to be like, well, too bad. You didn't submit it. You don't get points, right? Obviously, I'm a human person. I'll work with you. If in those situations you ended up emailing me, that's fine, right? But obviously, the way you're supposed to submit your work is through Canvas. That's the way. All right, technical requirements. Computer stuff that you need. For instance, Microsoft Office, you have access to that as a student. You can download the software from the IT website. And, there's other fun ones on there too you can get for free as a student, side note. So anyway, all of that stuff should be available to you. Again, this is just that saying you should submit it through the portal, but then if stuff goes sideways, through my email. Anywho, all right, so if you're watching this so far and you're like, no, I don't want to hear her talk, that's fine, drop, but I would suggest do it in the first couple weeks so you can get your money back. If you drop after the W deadline, you get a W. That's just how that works. So that's kind of your choice on that. Okay, conduct and etiquette, again, same deal. This is the kind of class where we can learn a lot from each other because everyone brings in their own experiential knowledge, right, from being out in the world. And, when looking at people's identities or experiences through this kind of intersectional lens, it can be really helpful to kind of understand from someone else's view, from someone else's experience. It's one thing to say, I disagree with your application of a theory, but it's another thing to say, you didn't experience that. Like, you can't do that, right? Because you don't know someone else's experience. So I just want to have the ability to have a comfortable space where people can kind of share, especially with things like, talking about things as personal as gender as an identity, without fear of reprisal or discomfort and things like that. So, this is an opportunity to learn from other people. So take that as you will. Okay, academic dishonesty. Don't do it. I teach writing and research methods and stuff here. It's just so obvious when you cheat. Like, for instance, the papers that you're writing in this, you're going to talk about your own personal gender identity. You don't need AI to tell you what your gender identity is. If you do, that's a whole nother problem, right? Also, when you're talking about reaction papers, how do you interpret the film? How do you apply the concepts from class? Handing that over to an AI, it's like super not accurate, which is problematic. But pretty much everything in this class is coming from your perspective and your identity. So just use your brain. Anyway, because there are some real consequences to doing that stuff. DSS, if you have any accommodations, let me know. Not a problem. Let's see what else. Okay, so reading schedule. There are readings, right? You're expected to do the readings before you actually watch the lectures. It's just going to support learning. I mean, let's be real, learning is repetition. So if you read the stuff, you have a baseline understanding, you listen to the lecture, I'll give examples, and then that just kind of builds on your understanding so that, that actually ends up minimizing the amount of time you have to study later on. If you just kind of read throughout. Also, with your papers that you're going to be doing, the reaction papers and the gender performance paper, those are going to come from class concepts that you're going to use. So reading in a lot of ways actually is helping you set up for that later on as well. Okay, so read. Okay, exams. There will be 3 exams in the class. Each one's going to be 40 questions, multiple choice, true, false, and 4 short answer essays, which again, you'll know this stuff ahead of time, detailed study guide, all that kind of stuff. You're fine. Each one's worth 100 points, blah, blah, blah. Oh, and you're going to be taking them through Canvas. It's pretty much open book. It's not like there's a Proctorio or any sort of spy software or anything like that. You're just going to basically like have a study guide, fill out that bad boy, sit down next to it. You're going to kick its ass. Okay. Discussion activities. Like I said before, the first week's going to be an intro post. There will be some that are reflections where you just answer, based on the criteria on the discussion post, with your response, and then comment on at least one other student's post. And then with the discussion questions, you're going to develop a question based on that week's readings or other additional content materials. Kind of easy peasy. Like I said, there'll be just directions on each forum. No worry there. So you're going to have one of those from week 2 to 14, each worth a potential 5 points. So 50 points, right? That's a fair amount of points to balance stuff out. Okay, so then we're also going to have the book club for genderqueer. So why did I pick genderqueer? A couple years back, I added this to the class because it was the most banned book in America, like 4 years running. And as a result, I read it and I didn't really understand why it was banned. I get why people are reactionary to it. And there's like basically one page that people like to react to and say it's pornographic. But really, when you actually read the memoir and you understand the context of the memoir, it actually is quite appropriate. And it's one of those things that, people are reactionary, but they often don't actually read these things before they ban them. So anyway, what's going to happen is we're going to read the graphic novel in 4 parts. And then there's going to be prompts to kind of react or respond to, right? Each one of those is worth 10 points. So basically, the last one will just be like, what were your takeaways? What did you think of it? That kind of thing. So the book club itself is going to be an easy 50 points. And, you're reading a graphic novel. It's a pretty quick read. Also, just a great one. Okay, reaction papers. Like I said before, we watch a film, you react. There's a structure to it. Basically, the first part, you're going to kind of analyze the film for its main themes, right? So basically, like, what is the film about? What is it arguing? That's what you're looking for there. Then for the second part, you're going to give me what are some class concepts and a theory that you can apply to that, right? So you can say like, oh, in the film, I saw the concept feminism, which is the idea that there should be equality between genders, right? And here's how I saw it in the film. So you're basically going to define it first, then say how it connects. Easy peasy. You do that for 2 concepts and a theory, and that part's done. And then the last part of the assignment are additional questions that you answer with your opinion. So as far as me grading them, I'm not going to be like, well, I disagree, 0 points. It's more about, did you fully answer the question? Are you talking about your perspective and why you believe these things? That's what I'm looking for there. Because again, it's not about making you a bunch of sycophants. It's about helping you develop your own stance and critical thinking around these topics, which is very important these days. We're in a society not filled with critical thinking right now. Anyway, okay, so then the big old paper is the Perform Your Gender research paper, which honestly, students love in this class. It's very enjoyable. Some of the stories from this one is just, they're wild. So anyway, basically what's going to happen with this one, like I said, with any assignment, there will be a detailed assignment sheet. I'll probably record one of these dailies to go into the weeds about it a bit. We'll have the check-ins. You can ask questions. Chill. But anyway, so basically what happens is you're going to just kind of live your life for a few days and just kind of critically reflect on your gender presentation to others, how other people interact with you, right? How they interpret that. And then you're going to challenge your normative gender performance. So for instance, like let's say you are kind of have a normative gender performance, then you might do something to transgress that, right? To challenge that for what people expect. And then, or let's say you're pretty non-conforming when it comes to gender, then maybe you might do something more conforming in regards to gender and see how people react to that. It's really, really fascinating, honestly. And once we get there, I have like a whole document of just examples that people have done in the past that are really interesting. Like simple things sometimes, like it can be as simple as like painting your nails, changing what you wear, changing how you talk, how you stand, how you sit, what you eat, what music you're listening to. I mean, some of these things can be like the most subtle thing where I think, I wonder how that's going to actually impact like how people are going to react to it. And they always do. People love policing your gender representation. So anyway, basically you're going to talk about what you did, how it went, how you felt, how other people treated you, and then you're going to apply the sociological lens to it, meaning some of those concepts and theories from the class you're going to apply to it, right? And so, like I said, when we get there, we'll get much more in depth about what those expectations are. All right. You will receive grades and feedback on all assignments within 2 weeks of the due date. The only reason I say 2 weeks is because for some of those papers, it takes me a minute to get through all of them. Because I have you guys and an in-person section. But for most things, it'll be within a week. You'll know right away. I'm not one of those people where you're waiting months to know what your grade is, or you're stressing out on what your grade is. You're always going to have all that information in your Canvas. You can just pop into the grade book, boom, 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 know what's going on, right? Okay, so sometimes you're going to see comments in the grading rubric that'll say like, okay, here's why, or here's this, or this part needed to this, or whatever, right? Okay, another one here sounds so mean. Grades received in the course are based on points earned. Grades are not rounded. Meaning, rounding is for second grade math. It's not for grades. So basically, you will know what your score is, and then that's going to correspond to your grade, right? I'm not just going to give you free points for nothing. We might have some extra credit opportunities throughout. So, it's not about that. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but it's just more a matter of, sometimes people think like, oh, I'll just throw in some extra points. But then I feel like it's unfair to the other people who don't ask because they're not getting extra for nothing. So, anywho, you have to earn a grade of D- or higher to get credit for this. Hopefully you do a lot better than that. And I'm going to give you all the resources you need to definitely do better than that. Okay, grading scale by points. Performance criteria, my passive-aggressive way of saying just because you turn it in doesn't mean it's an A. But like I said, there will be detailed assignment sheets, rubrics for every assignment that tell you what you need to do so that you can be, adequately prepared to make sure that you get like the best score that you can for this, right? Okay. Calendar section has all the info you need. So it has like what readings you're supposed to be doing, what films we're watching, and then here you have either, quizzes, discussions, assignments, or exams, right, that we're going through. So you can see week 1, like you're supposed to read the syllabus, which we're doing right now, so you're welcome. And then you're supposed to read chapter 1 and 2 of the textbook. Now, I understand that not everyone gets access to the textbook right away. If there's a chapter you have to miss, then chapter 1 is it, right? Because it's going to be stuff that we're going to go over later anyway. But you definitely want to get it by here and then be able to kind of catch up with that, right? Okay, and then here you're going to see whatever is actually due that week to do. So like here you'd see, okay, exam 1, we have the book club, right? And, what's due then? You'll have, okay, your study guide is what you have to read, and you have to do the book club stuff. So it's pretty clearly structured that way. You're going to see like what you're watching, what you're doing, and then everything is going to be due Sunday before 11:59 p.m., except for the final exam. Like I said before, I'm not allowed to extend it to Sunday, but everything else will be due at 11:59 p.m. Sunday of the week that it's scheduled to be. So it would be like the 31st. This is the point where normally I'd say, do you have any questions? But we are not in person. So I'll just assume I did an excellent job. You have no questions. Okay, moving on to the rest of the orientation module, you got the question and answer discussion board. This is where you pop stuff that's like course-related questions. I kind of passive-aggressively put here, remember, there's a syllabus that has all the information. Look at that. If you don't find it, pop in your question, right? If it's something personal, send me a message instead, right? Because everyone's going to be able to see this and you don't want that. Okay, so let's go back to home. Another thing I wanted to point out that's really important is that I've set this kind of requirement, right? Meaning that to be able to access the assignments, you need to actually physically click through the modules. Now, why would I do such a horrible thing to you, right? Well, last semester I had a couple online classes where it was like week 9 or 10, and they were asking me things like, where are the instructions? And I'm like, they're literally right there where it says instructions. And I was so confused, like, how are they not seeing this? And I realized it's because if you use your phone app, like your Canvas app, because again, remember, I'm also a grad student right now using Canvas, so I see you. Anyway, if you're using the phone app and you just go to like to do, it just takes you straight to the assignment, but it ignores the entire module that it's a part of, right? And oftentimes that's where you're going to have like the instructions, all the information that you need to make that possible. And then people are hitting me up like, well, I don't see the instructions. You said there's a video, but I don't see the video. I'm like, oh, it's like literally right there. But you didn't click on it. You were looking at your phone, just trying to like fill it out. So you're going to need to use like a computer, a laptop, a tablet at some point. Like, this is college, right? It's not something that chill you can do from your phone. So anyway, what I have done here is that basically to be able to get to that, like you'll click on your to-do and it'll say requirement is not met. And that means you have to physically click on this stuff, right? So I clicked on this one here. You're going to see every week we'll have an overview. Here's what you have to do. Here's like what's due that week, just to make it crystal clear what's going on. You're also going to get an announcement. And then here you're going to have all of your lecture stuff. So there'll be lecture videos each week for every chapter that we have via YouTube. And then down here, if you're one of those people that wants to take notes in the slides, I give you the access to the slides as well, so that you can kind of better organize that information. Each week, there's also going to be these additional content module, which is basically like other stuff that's going to help support what we're talking about that week. So it can be other videos. Sometimes it's reading, sometimes it's podcasts, just other links and information that will help you. Most of it's required. If it's optional, it'll say optional, right? And you don't have to do it. But when there's sometimes additional readings that you're going to have, they're going to be in here as well, so that you don't have to buy a book or, find these resources somewhere. It will all be here for you, right? So here you got a little crash course video, another little video here for you. And then for the first week, the only thing you have to actually do assignment-wise is this discussion intro post. So basically, go to the forum. I have all of like the etiquette, the guide, what you're supposed to write and do. I give you a little example myself. And then, down here, you just press reply, pop in your thing. And then you see here, it says you get 3 points for doing this stuff. And you get 2 points for commenting on another student's post. So if you want the full 5 points, you still have to comment on someone else's as well. Not 5 people's, not 200 words per thing. Just comment on someone's more than, yeah, me too. Right, that kind of thing, like actual engagement. And trust me, this helps in an online forum to just kind of have a better sense of community. So anyway, that's what's going on. Orientation week 1 got you all caught up, went through the syllabus. I just wanted to kind of put this up for you so that you kind of know I'm a human person. I'm here for you if you have questions or issues. Like I said, we'll have some optional meetings that'll pop up here in this module that you can kind of drop in on if you want to do that. Obviously, I'm always a click away. You can just go to inbox and message me. But yeah, just kind of wanted to set this up so that you kind of know there's a person here behind the curtain and, just kind of set you up for success in the class. So welcome to the class, and, I'm looking forward to working with you.